It's a matter of seeing what is really valuable. The world has not really been forsaken. I am very much in the world, doing that which really carries value. When you say prestigious job, no job objectively carries any value or property. One has to see whether a place, a profession, a thing carries prestige in his own eyes. One wisely, clearly looks at things, and then the decision becomes obvious. In this same very world, different people, guided by their different inclinations and different set of conditionings, pursue different paths, vocations. I am grateful I could see that there is a way of living much more valuable than the one commonly pursued. And having seen value, one lives the value. Fundamentally, there is no difference at all. But at a practical level, a difference seems to arise. And the difference is that religion assumes an organized shape. Even spirituality can become organized, but religion is much more prone to organization. In that sense, religion becomes a condensed, frozen, very set pattern of beliefs, rituals, festivals, and such things. Spirituality, thankfully, is more free and fluid. But essentially, both are same because the end of both is the same. Both are to take the mind to its core, to peace. Spirituality assumes a much more open and accommodative route. Religion gives a much more planned and organized route. So you could say that truth or peace are at the center, Spirituality is a small circle emanating from that center, and religion is a much bigger circle around the same center. So spirituality and religion happen to be concentric, and yet spirituality is much nearer to its goal than organized religion is. The universal essence of all religions is the universal thirst of every human being. Why do religions exist at all? Religions exist for people. Even if one religion or many religions say that they are based on the revealed word of God, to whom and for whose sake is God supposedly revealing His word? For the sake of the people. Right? Even if God is sending down His prophets and messengers and books and avatars, or even His own Son, it is for the sake of the people, the population, the men and women of this world. So obviously the purpose of religion has to be the same as the purpose of human life. The purpose of religion has to be exactly that which every single human being craves for. And what is it that we crave for? What is it that we ultimately want? It's a certain rest. It's a certain closure. We want to come to a very secure sleep. We want to come to a point of relaxation. That relaxation in different contexts is variously described as freedom or liberation or realization or peace or joy. So that's what all religions are aiming at. All religions want to give the human being that which he so desperately aspires for. Yes, but just as human beings are very different, even as their ends, even as their ultimate ambition is the same, so that explains why organized religions emanating at different places and at different times and in different contexts have to be necessarily different. If all human beings were the same, then no two religions would need to exist. But human beings vary a great deal. So the form and structure of religions is also bound to vary a great deal. But all variations are superficial. As you go deeper into the human psyche, the variations start getting annulled and you find more similarity, rather more oneness emerging. Similarly, when you dig deep into any religious fold, you find that the differences between the various religions start decreasing, and what gradually shines forth is a oneness of purpose. That oneness is the goal of religion and of human life. How do you feel when you are sleeping? And you are shocked into waking up. It is not pleasant. Once you are in a settled and relaxed state, you do not want change. In fact, even when you welcome change, you welcome it so that you can change into a relatively less changeable state. You keep moving so that you reach a point from where movement is not necessary. Every new beginning is a shock and a tension. The proof is that you ultimately want to come to a point where all beginnings become needless, where no new beginning is needed. Doesn't that happen between lovers? You move on, relationship after relationship, but your desire is to ultimately find someone you don't have to ever leave. You don't want to begin once again, don't you? You want to come to a full stop. Even if you break up and move into a new relationship, what is the whole movement for? The whole movement is to ultimately enter a place that would be final. Beginnings are sometimes necessary, but always a bit of a hassle. Had it been in your province, you would have eliminated all beginnings altogether. Same with endings. Whenever something ends, it is a bit of a jerk, a shock to your desired eternal sleep. Because you didn't begin anything ever to end it. You always want to get into something that would never end. Look into the things that are valuable to you. Do you want them to end? Whatsoever is valuable in your life, you desire it to continue eternally. And if there is stuff in your life that you deliberately want to end, then that stuff is anyway not joyful, or is it? It is not joyful, therefore you want it to end. And if there is any stuff in your life that is worth anything, then you wish and pray that it remains. It never ends. So endings too make the inner being nervous. What then is liberation? Liberation is to come to a point or get hold of something or drop something become immensely big or reduce totally. Describe it whichever way you would. And stop. That is liberation. You begin so that the beginning is final. It doesn't prove to be final. It ends. You end, but the end is never final, and you again have to begin. And all the beginning and the ending is for a certain purpose. Liberation is to achieve that purpose. Liberation is to hit the existential jackpot. Liberation is to say, I finally cracked the game. You were trying. And all human effort and movement and strife, this whole universal drama is actually nothing but a desire for liberation. One tries this, one tries that. This house, that house. This book, that book. This profession, that way. This man, that woman. One does not do things. One is just crying to be liberated. And in this quest for liberation, it is unimaginable how many bondages we keep entering. Man never took on a bondage but for the sake of liberation. Had liberation not been so very dear, attractive, real, convincing, we would not have been in so many bondages. Liberation is so very compelling that you are prepared to be in shackles. And tolerate and never stop trying. The modernity of the world is the most recent act and scene in the eternal drama. Scenes change, The drama continues. What is it that you call as modernity? Certain philosophies prevail, certain ideologies become dominant, technology comes to a certain point, man starts living, eating, moving, talking in a certain way. Society and economics organize themselves in a certain way. Right? This is what you call as modernity. These things are just scenes. Scenes change with the blink of an eye. What is it that does not change? The fundamental thirst of the mind for liberation does not change. Today you are talking to me and there are all these fancy gadgets to support you. And there are lights and there is the air conditioning and such things. 1,000 years back, when you were talking to me, there was no such equipment around. But the questions were the same. Because these questions pertain not to that which is time bound, but to that which is timeless. Will time ever touch your urge for timelessness? Only the surface has changed. The clothes have changed, the language has changed, the makeup has changed. The one sitting within has not changed. And I am not talking of the soul or the Atma. I am talking of the discontentment, the restlessness that man is. If we could have another fancy gadget here, a little fancier maybe, let's say a time machine, I would have loved to take you to the age of Jesus or to the age of Buddha or Ashtavakra. Or even prior to that, to the age of the Rishis of the Upanishads. And I would have shown you that man was struggling with the same inner disquiet then as he is struggling today, because man is man. Clothes change. Clothes change. Acts and scenes change. The theme of the drama does not. It's a very coherent play. Some love to call it the theatre of the absurd. Yet, it is very, very consistent and homogeneous. It's an existential play. With a very committed theme that never deviates. Right? And these same questions will remain topical and pertinent even 2000 years from today. Well, that is if anybody survives to ask these questions. The same reason that makes you ask these questions and makes me answer them. Wisdom, love, truth. One is fettered, one is shackled. And consciousness is one's only hope. Deep, deep consciousness that takes one so high that one can then escape away from consciousness. How then can one be full of disrespect for any sentient, any conscious being? If you look into the eyes of an animal and do not see your own face, then you are a blind one, and blind ones are not supposed to reach destinations. How would you be liberated? If you do not have compassion towards yourself? It is not enough to just theoretically or intellectually say that one wants to be liberated. One needs to have something in heart for consciousness striving towards liberation. One has to look at himself and say, I do not like that I am fettered. One must have a certain love for himself. One must be able to touch himself gently. And only then will one be able to provide for one's deepest need. And if you can look at yourself and see that you are really, really eager to get love, to get freedom, to get security, how will you not see that when you look at other human beings or other conscious beings? If you are violent towards other beings, it only means that you are violent towards yourself as well, because you and the other being are essentially one. The differences are countless but worthless. You look at yourself and you look at a parrot or a goat or any small living being. These eyes, as biological instruments, will only show you differences between yourself and the other creature. But if you have wisdom and compassion, you will see a great similarity. Both of you are hungry for love and liberation. And if you value your own hunger, how will you not value the other's hunger? You are supposed to liberate the other. In that lies your liberation. You are not to annihilate the other. If in the other's liberation lies your liberation, then surely in the other's annihilation lies your annihilation. But to see this equation, first of all, you need to have the sensitivity, the attention to clearly see that at a deep level, you and the goat are one. But if you are someone who accords a lot of value to things like culture, civilization, language, knowledge, intellect, clothes, names, labels, then you will say, oh, a goat is a goat, a man is a man, and a goat is such an inferior product of evolution. And all that is so very foolhardy. Yes, the goat does appear inferior. But the inferiority is in a very inferior dimension. I do not deny that in the dimension of the intellect, the goat is inferior to the human being. But the dimension of intellect is itself an inferior dimension, because in this dimension you never gain liberation. So how can it be a superior dimension? In the existential dimension, you and the goat are one. In the existential dimension, all beings striving for liberation are one. And is there a being that is not striving for liberation? No, not at all. To be existent is to be desirous of liberation. Otherwise, why would you exist at all? We exist to be loved and liberated. And you cannot have liberation in isolation. Because as long as you are a believer in isolation, that itself is bondage. Are you getting it? To move towards your liberation is to realize that nothing like isolation exists. Your deepest desire is also the deepest desire of your neighbor. And the deepest desire of you and your neighbor is the same as that of the insect crawling in your neighbor's lawn. And of the bird perched on your terrace. Come close to a stranger, an insect, an animal, a bird. Spend time with them without bias. And it will become very difficult for you to say that the animal is not a person. The fundamental mistake that most human beings make is that they only have images about consciousness. We never actually get close to the conscious beings that we kill and exploit for food or convenience. So we do not even have the basic respect, the courtesy, the decency to refer to animals properly. We look at an elephant and say, it is moving. Is the elephant a machine? we do not see that all sentient beings are actually persons like us. Mostly we do not see. And when we are compelled to see, we pretend that we have not seen. Because if we admit that we have seen, then we will have to mend our ways, and that is inconvenient. Those who are violent towards other living forms are fundamentally violent towards themselves. Do not turn vegetarian or vegan for reasons of mercy or pity. Turn a vegan in your own self-interest. You are not killing the other. You are killing yourself. Don't act as if you are doing a favor to the other by being nice. If you are decent to the other, then it is yourself you are helping. You see, spirituality is all about freedom from suffering, or is it not? If there is no suffering, there is no need for any kind of spiritual path or spiritual discipline. So man is suffering. One has to start from there. You look within yourself or you look around yourself, you would find it hard to deny that there indeed is suffering. Man is suffering. And at the same time, suffering cannot be one's utter destiny. Surely, there is a way out. Surely, redemption is available. And if redemption is available, and man is still suffering, it shows that man is somewhere making wrong choices. An exit out of the hell hole does exist, but man seems to be trying at other places, knocking at false doors. When you are exploiting the other, it is for self-gratification, not for self-liberation. And if liberation is your goal, then how can you spend your energy just pleasing yourself? The prisoner who starts finding means of comfort and pleasure inside his prison cell will no doubt entertain himself for a while, will no doubt manage to keep himself in high spirits for a while, will no doubt appear to have cracked the code for a while. But one thing is certain, he would remain within the prison. Within the prison, he might consider himself an achiever. And so might the others. But if the one and only worthy goal was to break out of the prison, then his life has been an utter failure. Tell me, why does man exploit man? Tell me, why are we so insecure? Tell me, why is cutting the best deal possible such an important thing with us? Tell me, what is it that we mean by trying to make it big? We are just trying to have a good time inside the prison cell. And then there are the trees, the rivers, the mountains, the fish, the birds, the jungles. And you can eat them all up. See something alluring, snap it up, spit it out. And all of that within the prison. And this game is continuing. You look at a deer, you hunt it, you eat it. A lion, an elephant, nice tusks. A tree, a river, anything is there just to be exploited. All of man's energy is then flowing in a very foolish direction. And spirituality is intelligence. So this has to be corrected. One has to see why one wants to kill and consume at all. One wants to kill and consume because one is forgetting his real intention. One is forgetting his real need. One is forgetting why he exists at all. The prisoner has no business getting too cozy inside his cell. He should remember that he is in an awkward position. He should constantly remember just one thing: freedom, freedom and freedom, not gratification. And if you can remember the fact of your own bondage and your desire for your own freedom, then you will become very, very sensitive to the fact of others' bondage and parallelly others' desire towards their freedom. If a prisoner in his cell is constantly remembering his freedom, then he would pass on the same message to his fellow prisoners, to the other inmates. He would not tempt them or encourage them to just have a jolly time. If you remember that you must fly free, you also clearly see that the others here too must fly free. Then you want it not only for yourself, you want it for others as well. And I repeat, the existential game is such that you cannot just plan it out for only yourself. You must have it in mind that that which you are demanding for yourself must reach others as well. Compassion and spirituality are so very intimate. And in today's time, veganism is the strongest name for compassion. You cannot be spiritual and violent at the same time. You cannot be spiritual and a flesh eater at the same time. The world is only as beautiful as are the eyes that look at the world. For your eyes to be beautiful, your eyes must constantly be in search of beauty. The East has said, Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Only the truth is beautiful. The more we encourage our falsenesses, the more we make a beautiful world distant from us. If in truth lies beauty, then in falseness lies ugliness. If there is falseness that you just cannot see, it is all right, take your time. You are still a learner. We all are at our respective positions on the curve. But there is a lot of falseness that is obvious, open, evident, conclusive. Kindly do not tolerate it. Kindly do not live with it, encourage it. Because falseness is ugliness. And we all, at least for name's sake, are worshippers of beauty. Only truth is beautiful. Do not hunt for the deep and invisible and intractable falseness in your subconscious or unconscious. I am saying there is so much that is evidently false and is yet being put up with. kindly stand up to it. Kindly reject it. If you know something to be false, then don't be cruel towards yourself by continuing to tolerate it. The more you reject falsenesses, the more you find that your eyes are able to appreciate beauty. Yes? So, to have a beautiful world, have the courage to stand up for the truth. Don't be a victim to your own habits or culture or conditioning. Once you have seen something as a fact, support it. And if the support requires commitment or sacrifice, pay the price.